Hello, Scorpio. This is Lee at Fresh Astrology, and we're looking at October 2019. And before we start, I have an announcement. My website has been changed. I now have a new website address. I will, after these are over, I'll post the link. But I'm now, instead of being at freshastrology.com, I'm at leesears.com. I'm combining my coaching and my astrology websites, and a new feature on my website is an astrology membership lounge, which is kind of like a private YouTube space. It has the same stuff. It has the videos. You can comment. I can do live videos there. So it's very similar to YouTube. It's just private, and it's a membership fee based subscription that you pay monthly. It's $8.99. And for that, in exchange for that, you get more in-depth readings. You get the readings sooner than I put them on YouTube. You get some basic astrology lessons, and you get the annual forecast in advance, and that'll be more in-depth. And then each month I will randomly select, one or more, it depends on how much time I have, people who are members to do free live readings. I'll give you a free reading. So that's a fun piece too. And then I also do some weekly forecasting there. So come join us there. It's leesears.com, and I would love to see you. So let's get going with your forecast, Scorpio. So it's your time. This is your time. Happy birthday to you guys. And, increasingly through this month, it will be more and more kind of scorpionic. And also Pluto is very prominent right now. So you and Pluto vibe pretty well together. It makes me wonder, how are you handling? Pluto is still intense, even for you. But I wonder how you're handling your personal Pluto-Saturn conjunction, because it's, even though the actual, when they're kind of right on the same degree, happens in January, they're still essentially conjunct. You've got two major heavy hitter planets, and right now they're 6 degrees apart, and that's close enough. I mean, we're feeling it even now. So even now, you kind of know what's going on. You feel the intensity. You felt it for a while. So what's going on for you? Where is the intensity, and how are you dealing with it, being a Scorpio who can kind of just out of nowhere seemingly just cope with harder things? You just kind of, in the moment that you need to, you just sort of pull it out, like, wow, look at you go. I've got a mom who's a Scorpio. Actually, my mother-in-law was a Scorpio. These people are survivors, and they just out of nowhere, like, they can seem even a little frail, or sometimes I wouldn't say helpless. That's the wrong way to say it. But they grew up in an age where women were supposed to be a certain way. Yeah, too nice. And then out of nowhere, they can just survive the craziest things and just thrive when other people crumble. And so there's this incredible strength you guys have. And that's where you kind of vibe with Pluto, because Pluto is where we have our strength. And so I'm just wondering, what's going on for you guys? How is it feeling for you? You have Mercury in your sign now, so you're very well spoken. It's a great time to do public speaking, some writing, or have important conversations with a partner. It could be a work partner, it could be an ex, could be somebody you're getting engaged to, somebody you're married to, but a great time to have dialogue. And maybe important announcements, important conversations, important announcements, surprising conversations. Even if they're surprising, you have the gift of gab right now. You can express yourself really well. So if you've had trouble expressing yourself in certain arenas with certain people, now is the time. You've got all this help kind of flooding in to your sign, and increasingly you'll feel more energized throughout the month. So it's your time. It's your time to shine. And throughout the month, it'll get even better, better, better. You do have Mercury going retrograde in your sign. So you start the month with just incredible communication skills and surprising skills that way. And then about mid-month, it can start to feel a little different. And then you have Mercury going fully retrograde on Halloween, and then that lasts for a few weeks into November. So it doesn't mean you can't communicate. It just means you need to remember that, maybe to take your time writing emails, to double check and read things before you hit send or before, you hit enter with messaging, just to pay attention to the tone of your voice. I know that's been an issue for Scorpio, is just recognizing sometimes that you think you're being like clear and nice and efficient in your speech. And then other people, it's like it goes through some kind of weird translation machine, and other people are hearing something totally different. And it may make you feel at times like, how I thought I said, hello, how are you doing? And I sounded like this. And somehow you're telling me that I sounded cranky and mean. I don't get it. And so a lot of you may be having that weird experience, but you've been working on it. The gift of that is that you've been for a decade working on how you take in information, process that information, and then spit it back out. Especially there may have been family issues with siblings and cousins or neighbors or people in a school setting, maybe at work if you're work, certain kinds of offices or certain kinds of careers too. But you've really been honing your skills, your communication skills, and paying far more attention. And you've gotten you've gotten a certain amount of mastery here. And if anything about your profession has to do with language, you're really developing a lot of mastery. It's a great time in your career, actually, guys. I don't know if you're feeling that, but it's a time in your career when you can really go places. So even though we begin with this Libra energy, it's kind of back in your imagination, your mind may be a little pretty active right now. Mars has just gone into the area behind the scenes, but kind of in your thoughts and your emotions. And so your interior world may be very active right now. It's great if you need to use your imagination to write or paint, or if you're working on a project, you have a lot of creativity inside, and the ability to work things through in your mind. It's also great. This energy is great for taking little tiny trips or restorative trips. So maybe some of you are planning or doing that. The balance here with Libra, because Libra, even though there's a lot of Scorpio energy this month, there's also this balancing thing going on. And so for you, it has to do with it's a little bit of just stepping back so you can see the whole forest and not just seeing all the little trees and twigs and pine cones, but stepping back and seeing the big picture, especially if there is some drama with neighbors or siblings, if there's any interpersonal drama going on in your world right now. It's good to just kind of sit back and try to pull back and see the big picture. I encourage you to do that. That's where the balance can come in, because the North Node's pulling you up and out into the world. It wants you to see the big picture. It wants you to be able to see more on a global scale and not on a tiny little scale. It wants you to think globally, act locally, sort of thing. But maybe feed your mind and your soul with bigger ideas. Learn something new. Look at something from a different perspective. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. is a really good exercise for you right now. Especially if you start feeling frustrated, a good exercise, or even sad, is to try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You would think it would make you sadder, but it actually is a really good way to cultivate some self-growth. What else do we want to talk about? Well, you do have Jupiter in your second house. I haven't really been focusing on Jupiter in the readings for everybody, but I would just like to point that out to you, that your career and your ability to make money is just really strong right now. You may also find you're spending more, but it's more, there's such ability to bring money in. Is anybody experiencing that? I'd love to know. Have you had some lucky job growth or job changes? What's going on for you there? Because it's really nice to have Jupiter in the second house, which is where you're hosting it. So what's going on? And then there's a Scorpio new moon kind of coinciding in a few days around Mercury retrograde. But despite what Mercury is doing, you've got this strong new start. And I want to say something like it's a little weird to have a new start time during a Mercury retrograde. What do you do with that when you hear all this advice? Oh, you're saying not yet with the career? Okay, well, sometimes it's more like really at the bitter end of the cycle, but it should be happening. And if it's not with career and money, there may be some internal blockages, or maybe you're not seeing all the opportunity that's there in front of you. So again, that's that when I was just saying, step back from the nitty-gritty details and getting caught in any drama, and just practice, going back and forth between seeing details and then seeing the big picture. And when you loosen up your mind that way, sometimes you see things in a new light. And sometimes I've seen it so often with clients and friends and family, and even with me, when there's opportunity just right there in front of you, but you don't see it. But then something happens and suddenly you see it, and what happened? Why did you suddenly see it when you couldn't see it before? It's a weird thing. I would say there's this ability with Mercury in your sign. It's not just about you speaking and communicating. It's about communication in your brain. Your brain is more active and capable right now. So even if you were kind of sluggish through all of this year and not really thinking very creatively or not seeing something, you have a great ability now to do so. And it's funny how sometimes success and opportunity is hiding in plain sight, but we just don't see it. And then suddenly we do. It's like a veil lifts and we see it. So just kind of open yourself to the idea that maybe that's possible. And look at the world that way. When you walk around and move through your day, like ask yourself, I wonder what's hiding in plain sight. What am I not seeing? And maybe if you believe in praying or asking for help from some divine source or just from your higher wisdom, just ask, like, I would love to be able to see what I'm not seeing. Please help me see what I'm not seeing. And it'll happen. It really will. It's amazing how when we ask for help does arrive. So back to this Mercury retrograde during a new start for you, and Mercury retrograde in your sign. I think it's a great month to review and do research and take another look at things. Look at things from a different angle. It's a great time to be asking your mind to do some different things so that you can utilize all your mental strength right now to see solutions where you haven't seen solutions, to see opportunity where you haven't seen opportunity. You also have the power of Pluto and Saturn in the third house, which is also the area of mind. And I think if you can challenge yourself to see things differently every day, there are little coaching exercises you can do to get this going for yourself and to make yourself start to see things differently. There are little tiny things you can do, like you could, on your way to work each morning or on the way to the supermarket, go a different way. It's amazing how doing something really small can make a huge difference. It seems bizarre, like why would that make a difference? But it does. Every day do something new, do something in a unique way that you've never done it before. Um, if you normally drink orange juice, don't drink something else, and just start shaking things up a little bit in tiny ways. Uh, that's, I think that may help if anyone's feeling stuck, like you're not feeling all the goodness of Jupiter in your career zone, because there is a lot of opportunity there. And sometimes these planets leave a gift by the door on their way out. When Jupiter leaves in December, then maybe it's like, oh, here it is. Here's the thing. So use October for researching, reviewing, rethinking, um, playing around, like using your mind like a tool, like not just doing the same way every day of thinking, of doing things, but start to kind of drive it differently, because you're in charge. You're the driver of the vehicle, and decide, I'm not going to drive it this way anymore. I'm going to drive it this other way. You've got a machine, your body, your brain. It's a machine that you can use. And sometimes we get in ruts with how we use these things. But so there's a lot of mental stuff going on for you guys, mental activity, and in a good way. It gives you brain power and the ability to think differently. And maybe if anybody's feeling stuck, that's what you need. I do see possibilities with romance. Just to end on a different note, I see some fifth house activity where Neptune is kind of working with Pluto and Saturn. So children, some interesting things with children, possibly some interesting things with romance, and also creative projects. I would be encouraging Scorpios to be working with their creativity too, even if you don't feel like you're a creative person. Just try your hand at something, writing a poem or writing a short story or writing a blog post, or, cooking creatively or gardening or just something. Use your creativity a little bit more. That's another way to kind of enhance the way you feel each day and about yourself in your life. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you for being here, and take care.